It's a lazy Sunday evening, the kind where the sunlight lazily stretches across the living room floor, not quite ready to say goodbye. I'm reclined on the couch, one eye on the game flickering on the TV, and the other on my daughter Katie, who's sprawled on the rug doing her homework. My wife Emily hums softly in the kitchen, the occasional clink of dishes punctuating her melody. This is my world, simple and fulfilling. I've always considered myself lucky. Married to Emily for 15 years, and every day with her still feels like a gift. She's beautiful, the kind of beauty that doesn't fade, only deepens with every smile and frown. Our daughter Katie is a firecracker, smart as her mother and just as stubborn. I trust them, both completely. They are my life, my joy. The tranquility breaks when Katie's phone buzzes. She glances at it, frowns, and then her face crumples. Tears well up rapidly. "Dad, can you come here?" she asks, her voice trembling. Concerned, I push off the couch and kneel beside her. "What's wrong, Pumpkin?" I ask as she hands me her phone, her hands shaking. It's open to a folder titled Work Stuff. Not her phone, Emily's. I scroll through, confused until I stop, heart sinking, on photos of Emily with another man. Their intimacy undeniable. Each image burns worse than the last, especially as recognition dawns. It's Tom, my best friend, laughing back at me from the screen, his arm around my wife. I stand there frozen as the room tilts. Katie's sobbing now, her small body racked with each cry. "Why, Daddy? Why would Mom do this?" Her words hit me harder than the shock of the photos. I'm supposed to protect her, to keep her world safe, and here I am, just as lost as she is. Instinct takes over. "We can't stay here, Katie. Pack a bag, just the essentials." My voice is calm, but it doesn't feel like mine. It's someone else speaking, someone strong, someone not shattered inside. We move mechanically, our actions synchronize as we pack silently. I take one last look around the living room, at the life I thought I had, and then do something that feels like sealing my fate. I pull up the photo of Emily and Tom on the TV, as big as it can display. Let that be the last thing she sees when she comes home. The drive to our unknown destination is quiet, the city lights blurring past us like distant stars. Katie holds my hand the whole way, her grip tight. I'm driving away from my life based on a handful of photos, but there's no doubt in my mind about what they reveal. It's not just the betrayal, it's the loss of everything I thought was true. Emily's silence over the next days only cements it. She doesn't call, doesn't text. We're ghosts now, vanished in our own life. It's a month later when I finally hear from her. I'm stirring my coffee, the morning sun mocking today's calm. My phone vibrates and Emily's name flashes on the screen. A message, just 3 words, but my hands tremble as I open it. The message is simple: we need to talk. My heart races and suddenly, I'm not sure I'm ready for what comes next. The 3 words on my phone screen seem to sear into my brain. We need to talk. That message from Emily feels like it's not just a bridge, but a summons back to a world I thought I had left behind. I tell Katie, who's been watching me, her face a mix of hope and fear. She doesn't say much, just nods. We've been floating in a sort of limbo, and even a storm sounds better than this quiet. The decision is made quickly. I reply to Emily, setting a time and place. I need it to be public, neutral. A small coffee shop downtown where no one knows us seems fitting. The wait until then is agonizing, filled with the churn of old memories, betrayal stinging fresh as if I'd just seen those pictures. The day comes and we're there early. Katie sits across from me, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea, barely touched. When Emily walks in, she looks different, haggard as if the month apart has taken a toll on her, too. There's a part of me that wants to care, to soothe, but it's buried deep under layers of hurt. "Jack, Katie," Emily starts, her voice cracking. She takes a seat, not waiting for an invitation. "I'm so sorry. I can't explain why." "Try," I cut her off. The simplicity of the word hangs heavy between us. Katie's eyes are on her mother, and I feel her hand find mine under the table. Strength in small gestures. Emily's story pours out. Tom, a shared business venture that wasn't just business. Late nights turned into more. She talks about loneliness, about feeling overshadowed by my own career success. None of it justifies, but it paints a picture of the slow decay of our marriage from her side. I'm silent for a long while after she stops talking. Then it's my turn. I talk about the betrayal, the pain, the rupture, not just in my marriage, but in my understanding of who we were. Katie speaks too, her words fewer, sharper. "You broke us," she says simply, and it's enough. We leave the coffee shop with no promises made. The air between us isn't cleared so much as it is acknowledged, murky and thick. Back in our small apartment, the decision to stay away from Emily feels right, but the closure we sought feels anything but close. That night, the first of the messages arrives. My phone buzzes and I see an unknown number. "Leave Tom out of this, or you'll regret it." The threat is clear as glass, sharp enough to cut. I show Katie, and we decide it's time to go to the police. But even as we do, a part of me knows this isn't the kind of problem that gets solved by a police report. The messages keep coming, each one more menacing than the last. "You don't know what you're messing with. Back off now." It's like poking a hornet's nest. The more we stir, the angrier it gets. But I can't back down. Not now. I start my own form of digging, pulling at threads in Tom's and Emily's business dealings. I find irregularities, transactions that don't make sense, connections to names I've only heard whispered. The deeper I dig, the dirtier it gets. This isn't just an affair. It's something bigger, something more dangerous. One evening, as I'm going over some papers, there's a knock at the door. Katie, who's been growing more anxious with each message, peers out the peephole and turns to me, pale. "It's Tom," she whispers. I open the door, my heart thudding in my chest. Tom stands there, not the friend I knew, but a man cornered, desperate. "Jack, you need to stop this," he pleads. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." The confrontation is tense, our voices low but fierce. Tom hints at powerful people, at risks not just to us but to anyone connected to us. He leaves with a final warning, and the door clicks shut behind him. That night I lie awake, the weight of his words pressing down on me. The betrayal now seems tangled in a web I hadn't seen before, each thread leading into shadows too deep to trace alone. This is no longer just about a cheating spouse. It's about survival, about protecting Katie from a threat we didn't see coming. The messages don't stop. If anything, they become more frequent, more explicit. I know I'm playing a dangerous game, but the only way out is through. With each threat, my resolve hardens. We're in this now, too deep to simply walk away. Whatever comes next, I know one thing for sure. We won't face it alone. We can't. The relentless ding of incoming texts has become a constant in our lives, each one a grim reminder that we've stirred something far more sinister than a simple affair. Each message is more ominous, the threats more specific. Yet as the sun sets on another tense day, I know backing down isn't an option. Katie, ever my anchor, squeezes my hand across our makeshift dinner table in our cramped apartment, her eyes mirroring my resolve. I decide it's time to take more aggressive steps. With a detective's methodical nature, I lay out the financial statements and emails I've gathered over the past weeks. I've been piecing together Tom and Emily's business transactions, trying to make sense of the web they've woven. The numbers don't lie, and the picture they paint is darker than I'd imagined. Money laundering, shady deals with anonymous shell companies, and large unexplained cash flows. One evening, my deep dive into a particularly complex financial trail leads me to a real estate firm in the city, a front, it seems, for laundering money. I can't shake the feeling that this is the breakthrough I need. The next day, I put on my coat and tell Katie I'll be back soon. Her worried look follows me out the door. The firm is as nondescript as they come, sandwiched between a dry cleaner and a fast food joint. Inside, the reception is cold, the decor sterile. I pose as a potential investor, interested in properties that offer high returns and privacy. The broker, a slick man with a too-sharp suit, eyes me with suspicion, but leads me into his office. As he talks, I scan the room, noting the certificates on the wall, the photos of him with various high-profile figures, each a potential piece in the puzzle. Our meeting yields more than expected. When he steps out to take a call, I quickly take photos of the documents on his desk. It's risky, heart-pounding work, but it pays off. There's undeniable proof of Tom's involvement, and possibly Emily's, funneling funds through this firm. As I leave, a black sedan parked across the street catches my eye. It's been there since I arrived. Paranoia or real danger, I'm not sure. But I hurry away, my footsteps quickening. Back home, I share my findings with Katie. We pore over the photos, connecting names and dates. It's clear we're dealing with something that goes beyond personal betrayal. We're in the midst of a criminal enterprise that neither of us were prepared for. That night, sleep is elusive. Every sound is magnified, every shadow a potential threat. The weight of our situation is suffocating, but the thought of letting these criminals win is intolerable. We decide it's time to involve the FBI. This is bigger than us, bigger than any local police can handle. The meeting with the FBI is all sharp glances and clipped tones. I lay out everything: photos, financial records, the threats. They listen, their expressions unreadable. By the end, there's an unspoken agreement. They'll take over the investigation, but our part isn't done. They need us to maintain our routines, to act as if nothing has changed. It's a dangerous game, but one we agree to play. The next weeks are a blur of pretend normalcy. Katie and I go about our days with strained smiles, jumping at every phone call, every knock. But our facade doesn't stop the escalation. One evening, as we return from a tense, silent dinner, we find our apartment door ajar. Heart racing, I push it open. The place is a mess. Drawers pulled out, furniture overturned. It's a warning, loud and clear. We spend the night in a hotel, too shaken to return. Lying in the dim hotel room, Katie beside me, I whisper promises of safety, of a future without fear. She nods, her face pale, her eyes large and trusting. It's a vow I'm determined to keep, no matter the cost. The climax of this twisted saga comes unexpectedly. We're contacted by a man claiming to have inside information on the conspiracy. He's nervous, glancing over his shoulder as he speaks. He confirms our worst fears. This isn't just about money. There's a hit out on us, a price for our silence. The stakes are clear, and they are deadly. Armed with this new information, our next meeting with the FBI is fraught with urgency. They're moving in, arrest imminent. The agent in charge assures us of our safety, but the fear lingers, a constant companion. The day of the raid is surreal. We watch from a distance as agents storm the real estate office, emerging later with Tom in handcuffs, his face a mask of defeat and fury. Emily is there too, handcuffed, her eyes meeting mine across the crowded street. There's no triumph in this moment, only the heavy weight of loss and betrayal. As we drive away, the cityscape blurring past, Katie's hand finds mine. "Is it over?" she asks, her voice small. I squeeze her hand, searching for certainty I don't feel. "Yes," I lie, hoping beyond hope that it's the truth. But deep down, I know our journey through this shadowy world might have reached a climax, but the echoes of betrayal will follow us, always a whisper away. In the cool shadow of an early morning, with the city just stirring to life around me, I wait outside the federal courthouse, feeling the weight of every decision that's brought me here. Today is the culmination of months of tension, fear, and determination. Today, Tom and Emily will face the consequences of their actions in a court of law. I draw a deep breath, trying to steady the nerves fluttering in my stomach. Katie, standing beside me, slips her hand into mine, giving a reassuring squeeze. She's been my rock through all of this. We enter the courthouse together, our steps echoing in the marble hallway. As we take our seats in the crowded courtroom, I catch a glimpse of Tom and Emily. Tom looks worn, his arrogance replaced by a haunted, gaunt appearance. Emily seems small, diminished somehow, her eyes darting around the room, avoiding mine. The sight of them, especially Emily, stirs a complex cocktail of emotions within me. Anger, betrayal, but unexpectedly, a pang of sorrow too. The trial begins with the sharp rap of the judge's gavel. The prosecutor is a young, sharp woman named Miss Adler, her voice carrying clearly as she outlines the charges. money laundering, fraud, and conspiracy. She speaks of hidden accounts, illicit deals, and the betrayal of trust, her gaze occasionally flicking towards me. Each word she utters reinforces the surreal nature of seeing people I once loved as defendants in a criminal case. Tom's lawyer tries to depict him as a man led astray by financial desperation, a victim of circumstance trying to keep his business afloat. But the hollow excuses fall flat against the concrete evidence laid out by the prosecution. When it's Emily's turn, her lawyer paints her as an unwitting participant, manipulated by Tom. My jaw tightens as I listen. The betrayal feels fresh, the wound reopened. Throughout the proceedings, I'm called to testify, a moment I've both dreaded and anticipated. Standing there swearing to tell the truth, I feel Katie's supportive gaze on me. I recount everything, from discovering the photos to the threats and the eventual unraveling of their scheme. My voice is steady, but inside I'm anything but calm. When I speak of the pain their actions caused, a hush falls over the room, the emotional toll laid bare for all to see. As the trial progresses, the tension is palpable. During breaks, whispered conversations fill the room, speculation swirling like the autumn leaves outside. Katie and I keep to ourselves, the weight of the trial pressing down on us. In one such moment, Emily tries to approach me, her steps hesitant. I see the regret in her eyes, the desire to speak, but the hurt is too deep, the betrayal too sharp. I turn away, not ready to face her, not here. The days blur into one another, each testimony and piece of evidence building a comprehensive case against Tom and Emily. It becomes clear how deep the deceit ran, how calculated each move was. The erotic undertones of their betrayal, once a painful thorn, are now just another facet of their manipulation, detailed coldly by witnesses and bank records. Finally, the closing arguments paint a stark picture of greed and betrayal. Miss Adler's final words resonate with me about the cost of their actions, not just in dollars, but in human trust and relationships. The jury retires, leaving a heavy silence hanging over the courtroom. Katie and I wait, the hours stretching out, each minute elongated by the weight of anticipation. When the jury finally returns, the atmosphere is charged, every breath held. The foreman stands, his voice clear. Guilty on all counts. Relief floods through me, mingled with a sorrow that doesn't celebrate the downfall, but mourns what was lost to reach this point. Outside the courthouse, the air feels different, lighter yet somber. Katie hugs me, her relief evident. "It's over, Dad," she whispers, and I nod, though part of me knows some scars will linger long after today. In the weeks that follow, the sentencing confirms lengthy prison terms for both Tom and Emily. It's a chapter closed, justice served, but the story of our lives has been altered indelibly. I find myself reflecting on everything that's happened, the journey from blissful ignorance to painful enlightenment. The decision to not seek vengeance but justice has shaped the resolution of this ordeal, allowing us to start anew without the shadows of resentment darkening our path. Katie and I discuss our next steps, our voices hopeful but cautious. We talk about moving away, starting fresh somewhere new, where the past doesn't walk the streets beside us. As the city lights twinkle below our apartment window one evening, I realized this trial was more than just about legal justice. It was about finding a way through the darkness, about the resilience of the human spirit when faced with betrayal. It was also about forgiveness, not necessarily of those who wronged us, but of the circumstances, of the pain, allowing us to move forward, not chained by bitterness. Katie, ever perceptive, looks at me one night with a thoughtful expression. "You should write about this, Dad, not just for us, but for anyone who might one day walk this hard path." Her words plant a seed, an idea that takes root in the fertile soil of recovery and reflection. So I begin to write, each word a step towards understanding, each sentence a bridge over troubled waters. The process is cathartic, the act of writing therapeutic. It's not just a recounting of events, but a way to process them, to make sense of the nonsensical. Through it all, I come to see that life, with all its unpredictability and pain, also offers unanticipated pathways to new beginnings. And as I pen down the last words of my story, I look forward with a cautious optimism, ready to embark on the next chapter, whatever it may hold. With the trial behind us and the verdict delivered, the real work of putting our lives back together begins. The legal battles may have ended, but their aftermath stretches out like the long, slow recovery after a storm. Emily and Tom face their sentences, their futures sealed away by bars and legal documents, while Katie and I face the task of rebuilding from the emotional ruins. Our first step is finding a new place to call home. The city, once familiar and comforting, now feels tainted with too many memories, too many shadows lurking around every corner. We decide on a small coastal town several hours away. It's the kind of place where the rhythm of the ocean waves promises a natural serenity that the bustling city can't. As we drive towards our new home, the skyline behind us shrinks, becoming nothing more than a distant blur. Ahead, the open road is a symbol of our new beginning. The house we move into is modest, with views of the sea from every window. The first few days are spent unpacking, the physical act of setting up a new home paralleling our emotional unpacking. Each item we place, each picture we hang, is a step towards creating a new normal. Katie enrolls in the local school, and I find a small office space downtown to continue writing. Our lives, once defined by the turmoil and betrayal, start taking on new shapes, colored by hope and cautious optimism. In this new setting, our healing process deepens. Katie and I spend evenings walking along the beach, the horizon stretching wide and open before us. During these walks, we talk about everything and nothing: school, books, our dreams, and sometimes, when the night grows particularly quiet, about Emily and all that happened. These conversations are painful but necessary, stripping away the lingering bitterness and making room for understanding and forgiveness. One evening, as the sun sets in a spectacular blaze of oranges and pinks, Katie stops mid-step, her gaze fixed on the crashing waves. "Dad, do you ever think about forgiving Mom?" she asks, her voice barely above the sound of the surf. I take a moment before answering, watching a seagull dive into the water. Sometimes, I admit. Forgiveness isn't just about her, though. It's about us, about letting go so we can move forward. It's a process, maybe one that never really ends. Katie nods, understanding more than her years would suggest. We resume walking, the topic shifting away naturally, but the question lingers in the salty air between us. Back at home, I pour myself into my writing. The book I'm working on, a reflection of our journey through betrayal and recovery, becomes both a challenge and a catharsis. I write about the pain, the betrayal, the legal battles, but also about the resilience of the human spirit, our capacity for healing, and the strength found in the love between a father and daughter. Each chapter I complete feels like shedding a layer of the past, and with every word I find a piece of myself that was lost in the chaos of the past year. Writing doesn't just help me process. It helps me rediscover the core of who I am, stripped of the roles I had taken for granted: husband, friend, the betrayed. Now I am simply Jack, Katie's father, a writer, a man rebuilding his life piece by piece. Months pass, and our new life takes a solid form. Katie excels in school, her laughter more frequent, her eyes brighter. I finish my book, sending off the manuscript to a publisher who had shown interest after hearing a brief outline. The day I send it, I feel a profound sense of accomplishment and anticipation, mixed with a hint of nervousness. It's one thing to write for oneself, another to lay your rawest moments out for the world to read. As spring turns to summer, our routines become comfortably predictable. We host a small housewarming party, inviting our new neighbors and a few colleagues I've met through local writing groups. The house fills with laughter and light, the walls echoing with the sounds of a new beginning. During the party, I step outside for a moment of quiet. The garden is bathed in the golden light of dusk, flowers nodding gently in the breeze. I think about the journey, every hard decision, every moment of doubt, the fear, the resolve, and finally the peace. It wasn't an easy path, but it was ours, and we walked it together, Katie and I. That night, after the last guest leaves, Katie and I clean up together, the easy silence between us a testament to how far we've come. "I'm proud of us, Dad," she says, wrapping an arm around my waist. "I am too, Katie. We did good," I reply, squeezing her shoulder. Later, sitting in my study, I reflect on the emotional landscape we've navigated. Trust, once shattered, is slowly knitting back together, different but whole. Betrayal, once a sharp sting, has dulled into a lesson learned, and starting over has evolved from a daunting necessity to a welcome opportunity. This chapter of our lives, marked by upheaval and change, is closing, and as it does, I feel a profound gratitude for the resilience and love that carried us through. The future is uncertain, as all futures are, but it holds promise, a promise of continued healing, of new memories, and of stories yet to be told. As I turn off the light and head to bed, the sound of the ocean is a gentle reminder that life, like the tide, continues to ebb and flow, always moving forward. Months have passed since the trial, and life in our small coastal town has settled into a comforting routine. The sharp edges of the past have begun to soften, blurred by the steady passage of time and the healing balm of our new environment. Yet there remains a lingering piece of unfinished business, a final chapter yet to be closed. It happens on a clear, crisp morning. The phone rings, an unfamiliar number lighting up the screen. Hesitation claws at me before I answer. It's Emily. Her voice comes through the line, strained but clear. "Jack, can we meet? There's something I need to say." The simplicity of the request masks the complexity of emotions it stirs within me. After a moment's pause, I agree. A public cafe in town, neutral ground. I see her before she spots me, sitting outside under the shade of a large umbrella. She looks different, older perhaps, or maybe it's just the weight of everything that has transpired showing in her eyes, her posture. As I approach, she stands, a nervous smile flickering on her lips, quickly suppressed. "Jack," she starts, her voice trembling, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to apologize, properly." The words hang between us, heavy and awkward. I nod, motioning for her to sit down. The waiter brings 2 coffees, and the aroma briefly masks the tension. Emily speaks of her life since the trial, her voice a low cascade of regret and reflection. She talks about the therapy sessions, the soul-searching, and the stark realization of the pain she caused. "I understand now what I destroyed," she says, her eyes never leaving her cup. "Not just our marriage, but the trust, the very foundation of our family." Listening to her, I feel a stirring of something unexpected. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. The hurt hasn't vanished, but hearing her acknowledge the damage, the fallout, it adds a layer of closure I hadn't realized I needed. "I'm not asking to come back, Jack. I know too much has happened. I just hope one day you and Katie can think of me without feeling hurt." Her voice cracks and she pauses, gathering herself. The conversation shifts and we talk briefly about practical matters, about Katie. Emily's face lights up at the mention of our daughter, a mixture of joy and sorrow passing fleetingly across her features. It's clear the distance from Katie pains her, perhaps more than anything. As the meeting draws to a close, Emily stands, her body language hesitant. "Thank you for meeting me, Jack." There's a finality in her tone that suggests this might be our last conversation of this sort. "Take care, Emily," I reply, and she walks away, her steps slow, measured. After she leaves, I sit back, the remnants of my coffee cooling in the cup, and reflect on the encounter. It didn't erase the past, couldn't possibly heal all the wounds, but it offered something vital, a step towards resolution for both of us. The impact of our meeting lingers for days. I find myself contemplating the nature of forgiveness, the process of healing not just as a one-time event, but as a continuous, evolving journey. It prompts deep discussions with Katie, who has matured incredibly through all of this. Her resilience, her capacity to understand and process complex emotions, astounds me. Together, we explore the nuances of our new reality, acknowledging that some scars might never fully heal, but we can choose how we let them define us. This period of reflection culminates in a decision that feels both exciting and daunting. I decide to channel my experiences, the lessons learned, into writing. Not just articles or essays, but a book, a memoir of sorts that delves into the tumultuous events that reshaped our lives. It's an opportunity to lay bare our story, to possibly help others navigating similar treacherous waters. Writing becomes a therapeutic act, each chapter a session, each paragraph a step towards catharsis. The process is grueling at times, dredging up memories I would rather forget, but with each word typed, I feel lighter, freer. The narrative takes shape, guided by raw honesty and a desire to convey not just the pain, but also the profound insights gained from it. Months later, as I type the final words of the manuscript, a profound sense of accomplishment washes over me. It's done. The manuscript needs editing, refining, but the hardest part, the telling, is complete. I share this milestone with Katie, who embraces me, her pride evident. Who knows, Dad? Maybe your book will help someone out there who's lost in their own darkness. Help them find their way back, she says, her words echoing my own hopes. As I send the manuscript off to potential publishers, there's a palpable sense of anticipation mixed with anxiety. Whatever the outcome, I know this much. I've reclaimed my narrative, turned our trials into a testament of survival and growth. In the weeks that follow, I find myself looking forward, pondering the future. Our lives, reshaped by our past but not defined by it, hold new possibilities. I envision book tours, speaking engagements, perhaps even a new relationship when the time is right. But for now, I revel in the peace that comes from having faced our past head-on and having navigated through its stormy waters to calmer seas. As I sit on our porch, watching the sun set over the ocean, I feel a sense of peace. The journey has been long and fraught with challenges, but it has brought us to a place of understanding and quiet strength. The sea before me reflects the sky's fiery hues, a reminder of nature's endless cycles of renewal. And in this moment, I realize that while the chapters of our past are written, the pages of our future are still blank, waiting for new stories to be told. As I sit on the deck of our new home, watching the sun sink below the horizon, I reflect on the turbulent journey that has brought us here. The ocean before me is calm today, its surface a mirror of the sky, painted in strokes of orange and purple. It's a stark contrast to the storm of emotions and events that upended our lives. This moment of peace is hard-earned, and I savor it, the salty air mingling with the scent of the blooming night jasmine from our garden. The past few years have unfolded like chapters in a thriller novel, each twist and turn more unpredictable than the last. From the devastating discovery of Emily's betrayal with my best friend Tom, to the dramatic courtroom battles that followed, and the personal reckonings that came with them, each event has left its mark. But here, in the quiet of the evening, those tumultuous times feel distant, echoes of a past that no longer defines us. Katie walks out onto the deck, her presence a reminder of the resilience and strength that have carried us through. She's grown so much, not just in stature but in spirit. Her journey through the pain and upheaval has been nothing short of heroic. "It's beautiful tonight, isn't it?" she says, leaning on the railing beside me. "It is," I reply, and our conversation drifts to the book I've written, a memoir of our experiences. Writing it was a cathartic process, a way to make sense of the chaos and to find a path to healing. It was also a means to share our story with others who might be facing their own storms, to offer them a beacon of hope. Just last week, I received the news that the book would be published. The sense of accomplishment is profound, but more than that, it's the anticipation of helping others that truly uplifts me. The thought that our story could light the way for someone else is both humbling and empowering. As Katie and I talk, my phone rings. I answer, expecting a routine call, perhaps from the publisher. But the voice on the other end brings a new surge of excitement. It's a producer interested in adapting my book into a television series. The possibility of our story reaching an even wider audience, of touching more lives, sends a thrill through me. "We think your story could resonate with so many people," the producer says, his voice eager. "It's not just about the betrayal or the legal drama. It's about the strength to rebuild and the power of forgiveness." I promise to think it over and hang up, a smile spreading across my face. I turn to Katie, who has been listening in. "What do you think?" I ask. "I think it's amazing, Dad. You're going to help so many people," she replies, her eyes bright with pride. The news propels our conversation into the realm of possibilities. We talk about what the future might hold, about new beginnings and new challenges. As the sky darkens and the first stars appear, I feel a profound sense of gratitude for the unexpected paths that have opened before us. Reflecting on the entire journey, I am struck by the complex tapestry of life's events. Justice, resilience, and transformation have been central themes in our story. They are the threads that have woven through each experience, each setback, and each victory. The resilience to withstand the storm, the pursuit of justice, and the transformative power of writing our narrative. These are the lessons I hope to pass on through my book and potentially through the screen adaptation. The realization that each ending is also a beginning, that life is an ever-evolving story, fills me with hope. As the evening draws to a close and Katie heads inside, I stay back, lost in thought. The gentle sound of the waves, the whisper of the night wind, and the vast starlit sky above are reminders of the world's infinite possibilities. Our story, marked by both heartbreak and profound growth, is but one among many. Yet it is our unique journey, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to overcome, to adapt, and to thrive. This moment, this calm after the storm, is just a pause, a breath before the next chapter begins. Tomorrow I will call the producer back, and we will begin the process of bringing our story to a wider audience. But for now, I savor the quiet, the peace, and the promise of new adventures that lie ahead. As I look up at the stars, I am reminded that even in the darkest skies, there is light, a beacon for those who navigate by the stars of hope and resilience. Our journey continues, and with it, the stories we will tell and the lives we will touch.